Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Curtain. My name is Carly, and I'm going to be the moderator again for today. If you're watching with us live, welcome, and we would love to see you participate by sending any questions and comments you have into our live chat down below. And if you're watching with us after hours, again, welcome, and we would love to hear your feedback. You can send any comments to our YouTube channel, or you can email us at info@majestictheater.com. And lastly, if programming like this is something that you value, then we would love to see you go over to majestictheater.com and giving us a donation. But I think I've talked enough. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Danny and Dave.
Thank
Hey,
you,
you guys,
Carly.
welcome.
Hi, Carly.
Hey, Dave, welcome.
Hey, Danny. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everybody watching. A couple of opening reminders. Let me see. Our current Majestic Children's Theater show is Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. And we got a Behind the Curtain Children's Theater talkback this Sunday, August 2nd at 7 o'clock. You might want to check that out. And next week, my guest, it's actually plural if we can get them all together. It's those marvelous Wonderettes. So we'll see how that goes. But that's next week's Behind the Curtain.
Now, are you going to talk about the exits? Oh no, that's only in the theater, right?
Yeah, that's only in the theater. And cell phones, right? Yeah. Oh man, how are you, Dave?
I'm doing good. And all this craziness.
Enjoying life somewhat as a retired guy. I know I think they're pulling you back in occasionally, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we had always had plans for me to do stuff, so we started the podcast in February, Even Better Western Mass. And the station, Western Mass News, has always done newscasts for 3 local radio stations. So I do that. And I do it all from the comfort of my basement. And then when all this COVID stuff started in March, I was back on every day doing updates from MGM and then later from at home. I got a little squirrely about being out of the house after all this was really starting to blow up. So, yeah, so it's been busy. It's been a kind of a nice way to kind of ease out of the Monday through Friday stuff, which, I honestly have not missed the nightly grind of it.
Yeah, that grind, right?
And I was worried about it. I mean, that was one of those things, after you do something for, what you count radio for 10 years and then doing the news for 40 years, it's part of who you are and what you do. And to all of a sudden say, I'm going from 60 down to 10 miles an hour. I was worried about that. And, but Linda kept me busy. We did a lot of things we've always looked forward to doing. We went to Hampton Beach, went down to Florida, and then we took a 12-day cruise from Paris to Prague on Viking, and it was just
a river cruise.
A river cruise. It taught me how to relax. Of course, the wine helped.
You go through a lot of wine country, I think, on those river cruises.
You do everywhere. I mean, I've never seen so many small vineyards in all of my life, and the wine is good, and it's not horribly expensive, and it's just a great time. It really was. I'm glad we did it.
People who I've talked to who've been on river cruises, they just they rave about them. They extol them. So much better than a huge ocean liner cruise, and it's great.
It is. I mean, I think there were 180 people on the boat. They didn't try to sell you this or that. And it was just very relaxed. And the tours were nice. Funny thing is we flew into Paris. And so we're waiting in the Viking area there and standing there. Now, I'd been out of work, I think, like 6 weeks. And this woman comes up to me and she said, "Hi, I'm from Northampton. I watch you all the time."
Yeah.
They were on the boat, and a wonderful couple from Northampton. So we had a good time with them too. So yeah, it's worldwide.
Well, so we should talk about Dave Madsen and the Majestic and how that affiliation all began. I know your son Greg had something to do with it.
He had a lot to do with it. He and Ben and Stacy Ashley. When you were going to start up and you were looking for people to work on the crew,
Yeah.
And you had already set the cast and everything else. And Greg used to babysit for Stacy's family, for her sisters and for their kids. And so they knew Greg was good and he was reliable, and asked him if he wanted to be on the crew. And he jumped at the chance because he loves theater. And so Ben would drive
been involved in theater in school at all, or
not really? No. But I think he liked the behind the scenes stuff. Although he can be a bit of a ham at times. He does very well. He thought about a career in broadcasting, but then he realized that he should really do something legitimate with his life. So then he opted not to. So Ben and Stacy would pick him up on the way down to the theater, and I would come by on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and I would pick him up, and I would always watch the ballroom scene that closed out Buddy every night, and loved it. Greg loved it, got to know you, and that's a friendship that started almost 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the best part that came out of it.
Yeah. No, the friendship has been great, and then just the relationship with ABC 40, and then Fox 6, and then
all our variations. Yeah.
over the years. That was great.
Well, one of the things I talked about, at the beginning of it, I said, gee, do you need a media sponsor? I said, I would love to have the stations, back then it was just Channel 40.
Right.
Just that. And you said yes. And so
I think 3 stations, right? There was like 40 and 22, and then 3 out of Hartford.
Yeah, I'm 50, and then 3 moved to Springfield, and the company that owns Channel 3 in Springfield bought us, Meredith, and Fox was added. Oh God, I think I want to say 2007, and so now it's coverage on 3 stations, and it's a relation. I think we started it your second season.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And one of the thing I just love, because I would write, the public service announcements and for the theater, and I would write those and I would voice those, and we made sure we got to every opening, and I think we missed a few through the years, but not too many. It was just, and I still do that, and I love doing that. It's just another aspect of being associated. And then Linda and I became subscribers, I think the second season, and have been ever since.
Right.
We
just love those seats right over there, and the second row on the house right side.
Yep. But I've always said that any seat in the Majestic is a good seat. So
yeah.
There's not a bad seat in the place, but I can remember some of the times I said to you, Danny, we should, I think it was probably the second year of Buddy, that we should videotape it, and then we should do a CD of the track and everything else. I got to know the Majestic very, very closely then, running cables and everything else through there. But I was a lot younger. Had so much fun doing that, and it was just, I think it set the tone for what you have there.
Yeah. You've we're gonna save this one, but I know you've emceed like a whole ton of stuff. At the Majestic, the Dan Kane things, and Jimmy Fund events, and you want to talk about those a little bit?
Well, yeah, with the Dan Kane shows, I mean, it's always, the Majestic's always been a perfect venue for the Dan Kane shows, and I probably done 15 or 20 there through the years. The Valentine shows, some of the holiday shows they've done, some of the summer stuff. And with the Jimmy Fund, when you opened up the cafe, I think I was president of the Jimmy Fund Council at the time.
I think you were.
Yeah. And I thought, what a great place to have a meeting, where we'd have the meeting in the cafe, or we'd have the reception in the cafe. Then we'd go into the theater for the meeting. And I always thought it was just, this was our annual meeting where we just wanted to thank everybody. And I said, what a great place to showplace all of these things. And I think the first year we did it, I asked Ashley Gearing to come in to sing, and Ashley did, and blew everybody away, and that led to Ashley singing the national anthem at Fenway Park.
Right.
The folks from the Jimmy Fund were so impressed, and look where she is now. She's in Nashville and doing great things.
I think she's kind of touring all over the world now, I think.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
And and just I mean, the first time I saw her was at the Dan Kane Christmas show at Symphony Hall. This little 9-year-old with this voice that will just knock your socks off. And those working with Dan and doing those shows, and actually, I think one of the most memorable we did at the Majestic was in 2011. You put on the concerts to help the victims of the June 1st tornadoes.
Yeah, the tornado. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I remember most about that was also one of those nights was my 60th birthday. So,
Oh, is that right?
yep. And, but so much fun. And it's one of the things about it, the Majestic, it's like the audience is right there in front of you and you can interact with the audience, not necessarily during a play, but, for those kind of things. And I think that's why all the entertainers around here, obviously during the summer, what you have, with all the different concerts and stuff, they just love the Majestic. I mean, there's not an artist I haven't spoken to who doesn't love the Majestic and the venue, and mostly because you're so close with the audience. So, and that what that does for me too, it gives me feedback that you don't get doing the news every night.
Right. Right.
And I'm a ham. I love to make people laugh. So,
and I think about you talk about all of the Dan Kane shows and the kids that like Ashley that he's brought along. Ashley ended up, as you say, doing the national anthem at Fenway, and then she did a concert, full evening concert with us. Sam Plotkin's another one. Yeah. Tracy Minch. Dan has really developed some great talent.
He really has. I mean, Dan does not like taking credit for those kind of things, but the talent, what he's done, and what I like the most about what Dan does with music is his music spans all generations.
Yeah,
and he's using his music. These kids who wouldn't necessarily ordinarily listen to that kind of music, they're singing these old standards and keeping that kind of music alive. And that's just part of what he's done. But the young talent that he's nurtured through the years, and Dan and Freddie Marion and just great folks. And I love working with them. It's really been one of the joys for me to be able to do that. They've given me an outlet.
Yeah. Was it just before you retired, maybe a few months before you got elected to the Mass Broadcasters Hall of Fame?
Yep. You hang around long enough.
First broadcaster from Western Massachusetts. Not surprising, right?
I was humbled by that and honored. There's a lot of, to be the first one from here, because there's a lot of incredibly talented people who belong in the Mass Broadcasters Hall of Fame from this area. Barbara Bernard, for one of them. I mean, you talk about a pioneer in women's broadcasting, or just in broadcasting in general. I mean, Barbara's story is an amazing story, and I know one of the benefactors of the Majestic. She just loves theater. But so many people. So to have that honor, and then I had the honor of inducting Ray Herschel the next year.
Yeah.
Talk about 50. Our careers kind of parallel each other. Grew up here. We're able to work here all of our lives. Both very lucky, and to be in the Hall of Fame there, it was quite an honor. The year I went in with Jerry Remy.
No kidding.
Yep. Yeah,
Huh.
And it was
the Rem Dog.
Yep, the Rem Dog, and so yeah, it's great culmination to my career, and how do I describe it? It knocked my socks off. So that's
yeah. For you folks who are listening in who might not be sports fans, Jerry Remy is the broadcaster for the Boston Red Sox, and he was also a great second baseman, I think.
Second baseman, yep.
For the Red Sox, he had a great baseball career, and he's now one of their major broadcasters.
Yeah, bad knees shortened his career, but boy, he picked up. Everybody loves Jerry Remy. I mean, he's just he's just a good guy, and he's had his struggles with cancer, and but boy, he's a fighter, and he's so I enjoy listening to him because he adds such insight to it, and it was just and so I've got being with him there that day, and I when I saw him down at before all this COVID stuff hit, saw him down at Fort Myers at JetBlue at the training camp down there. And he goes, "Hey, Dave." It's just like, oh, he still knows who I am. So, but a lot of that came through the Jimmy Fund too. I've been involved with the Jimmy Fund for almost 50 years too. The stuff that they do there, and doing what I do, it's allowed me to use my platform to never knowing along the way. I mean, I remember saying that when I first got involved with the Jimmy Fund, I really didn't know anyone who had cancer. And now it's like every time you turn around, friends, relatives, I had cancer, that you realize you're doing this for a reason. And, you got the best care, 90 miles down the road.
Right. So I know people will be interested in this, and how was it that you decided that broadcasting was going to be your career? Did you go to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, or by any chance? Or
I know back in the 70s, that's where a lot of people went. No, I didn't. It was something I always wanted to do. You and I've talked about this because you were on Channel 40 Dance Party.
That's right.
And one of the things we've talked about is like, wouldn't it be nice to have a Channel 40 Dance Party reunion at the Majestic? Maybe one day. But growing up, and that was the fun part for me, that I got to work in the building of where the radio station was that we all listened to in the 60s.
Yeah.
Phil D, Bud Stone, Bob Allen, Al Gates, Fred King was there. That I always wanted to be in. I loved radio. I was fascinated by it. And I knew early on that's what I wanted to do. I mean, one of the greatest gifts my parents ever gave me was a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And I had this record. It was called "You Be a Disc Jockey." And it had jingles and tracks and everything. And I would play that. And, so, and I mean, you look at school now and everything, they've got these, TV studios and all this kind of stuff. Well, we had none of that back when I was in school. And so my first job, well, it was a volunteer job, was in January of 1970 at WFCR, 5 College Radio. And that's what it was called then. And I worked for the news director there. And I've told this story that after about 2 weeks, he said to me, "You really should find another line of work." And I ignored him, did some stuff at the college radio station that summer.
MUA, right?
MUA, yeah. One of the first things I covered was when Nixon bombed Cambodia in the spring of 1970. They had me going around to Smith College and Mount Holyoke College doing live reports. And I got hooked. The adrenaline rush that you got from that kind of stuff. And that summer I got hired for $2 an hour by WMAS. My father thought I was crazy. I was making $3.50 an hour working at data processing at UMass. But I knew what I wanted to do. And HMP hired me a month later. I went full time there in I think March of 71, worked there for almost 9 years. In the interim, I mean, I had no intention of getting into TV.
So what were you doing at HMP? Were you just like the morning DJ kind of thing?
Well, I started just working one day a week, and then the manager, Joe Fennessy, who became just a dear friend through the years. I don't know how he put up with me back then, because I thought I was going to reinvent broadcasting. But his longtime partner on high school basketball left. So he said to me, "Hey, do you know anything about high school basketball?" Now I'm about a year out of East Hampton High School. And, oh yeah. And I knew nothing about high school basketball, but it was $10 a game. So
East Hampton had, I think, a pretty good basketball team. East Hampton Eagles, right?
they did, yeah,
There
back
was,
then. And I remember the
my
first.
day, there was a guy on East Hampton who was, he was kind of, I mean, he was a great player. He's kind of equivalent in terms of his skills to like Henry Payne and Gene Reisowitz. And do you recall who that was?
Oh God, there was a guy, Ron Rogowski. He was back in that time. Lonnie Wright played for them. They've had a lot of good players through the years.
Yeah.
But I remember going back to the high school for the first time since I graduated to do a basketball game, and I thought I was Mr. Big Shot. And so we walk through the door, and I'm carrying the suitcase with all the equipment, and the vice principal comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" So that popped that balloon very quickly.
Yeah, leveled you right off.
Yeah. So but after I got married, I was looking to make some part-time money, and I went to work at Channel 22 running audio and camera, all behind the scenes. And I did that for 4 or 5 years, working 2 jobs. And in 1979 in September, Tom LaMarche, who was then the station manager, but Tom and I used to work weekends together when he was going to BU, and he was directing, and I would run audio. They had an opening for an anchor, and he called me out of the blue. It was in August of 1979, almost 41 years ago, and said, "Hey, we've got an opening. I think you can do this." And I went down, I auditioned with John Quill. The next day, Tom called me back and he said, "Let's meet." And I said to Linda, I said, "Well, either he's going to let me down easy because we're friends, or he's going to offer me the job." And I said, "If he offers me the job, I'm going to take it." And that's how I got into TV news. So it was. I always say to when I was teaching at UMass and everything else, don't ever burn any bridges because you never know. And
right.
I made sure I never did that when I was at 22, and and it worked out okay.
Yeah. John Quill.
Yeah.
Great guy.
I got to work with some greats: Keith Silver, John Quill, Raleigh Jacobs, Bill Putnam, Kenny Broman. Yeah. I was very lucky. I mean, kind of the generation. My hope always was that I could, what they instilled in me, I could help instill that on our young journalists. It's because they just they ate, slept, and drank the business.
Yeah. Who do you recall? Who was the dance party host back in the day? Was it Phil Shepardson or?
No. Well, Dance Party on Channel 40. It was. They used to rotate the DJs. So, and the sad thing is there's absolutely no record of any of that because they did it live, and they, and anything that they used to tape. I heard this like with the old Tonight shows and from the 60s and stuff that, to save money, they erased those tapes and recorded other shows on them. And that was the same thing with us. So there's no record of it. But I remember that they used to, it would be Phil D, Bud Stone, whoever was doing the radio there, they would rotate out every week.
Yeah.
And it was just, I loved watching that. I would make my parents, they used to do a lot of publicity stunts in the parking lot of the Springfield Plaza. I remember they had Al Gates up on a tower one time. Bud Stone was on a Ferris wheel. And I would drag my parents down there so I could see them. And they'd have record hops too.
Yeah.
All over the area,
Oh, right.
And it was fun to wind up working. The first time I was ever on television was on Channel 40 on the Admiral and Swaby show, I think in 1970. And to get to know Gary Garrison, who was the Admiral, and Norm Goyer, who played Swaby, who were both talented men outside of that show. But then to hear the stories about that show, just they just did it and had fun. It was live TV.
How did you happen to be on that show?
I watched it, and I actually, more than anything else, I wanted to see the TV studio. So again, I dragged I made my mother bring me down, and I wound up doing the news in the studio where they did that show. So it kind of came full circle for me. It was, and I won a shoe shine kit. So that was the other part for shoes that my mother shined for me. I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I can remember that.
Yeah. This is a perfect spot. I know you brought along some photographs, and so hey, Carly, let's do a little photo show.
Through the years, see how much I've aged.
Yeah. Here she comes. Oh, look at
That
that.
was
So
that was in New York City.
This, Dave.
That was in New York City. That was the 10th anniversary of 9/11. We went down and covered that. What an emotional time. And it was the first time I had been down there since the World Trade Center bombings. But yeah, that was the 10th anniversary there. That was 2011, September.
Yeah.
That was a big year around here with the tornado and everything else. And the final shuttle launch, too. I got to do that year.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was New York City.
Mm-hmm.
There's the gang.
Yeah.
I miss them all. But we talk all as much as we possibly can. Beth and Jana and Jacob and me. That was my last week, almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Hard to believe it's been a year. That was my final ride. They surprised me. And they had a golf cart to take me. My grandson Jacoy was so upset because there was a party that night, and so my granddaughter Sophie was in the front seat there, and Bob Hastings, my good friend from there, was driving it. And so Sophie grabbed my hand and brought me to Linda, and we went out in the golf cart. And Jacoy was so upset because he thought we were leaving without him. So that may have been the last time I had a suit on too.
That was the big party at the
log cabin, yeah.
At the log cabin, yeah.
That was all last August 3rd. Time flies.
Yep.
That was at the Super Bowl in 2014 in New Jersey. We went from some of the coldest weather to some. I had never been to a Super Bowl before, so the Patriots weren't in it. It was Seattle and Denver, and Denver got blown out. That was, if any people remember, the first play of the game was the snap went over Peyton Manning's head, and that pretty much sealed that game. But what a thrill! I mean, the security was ridiculous. The bulk of it was in New York City. Right in the heart of Times Square, and I think we said, people, oh boy, you got to go to the Super Bowl, and I said, let me show you how much I walked. I think 55 miles in 3 days. A lot of work. Yeah. A lot of work. It's not like the Fox people who come in there to do the game and they get driven in their limousines. We went on the bus.
What the heck is that? Is that a Snoopy statue or something?
Yep, MetLife Stadium.
Oh,
it's Snoopy's the symbol for MetLife. So yeah, that's
right.
Yep. So that was the Super Bowl. I've had a lot of great opportunities to do different things. That's at Fenway Park. I believe that was opening day. Not sure what year that was. Probably 20. Let me see. They won in 2013. That may have been 2011. No, actually, you know what? I think that was the 100th anniversary of Fenway Park in 2012. So that's what that was. To be able to be on the field at Fenway Park was, as a baseball fan all of my life. That was always a dream come true. Never got old.
Look at that one.
Yeah, that was that was an eyebrow competition between me and Leonid Brezhnev.
Yeah.
He beat me.
He won.
Yeah, that was in the early days at 22. Look at the hair. There you go. The suit, they don't get, that was, I think we'd gotten away from polyester suits by that time, but that's when we were using chroma key on the walls behind us. And yes, that was probably 1981, in that range.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, almost 40 years ago. Who is that kid?
Yeah, no kidding. Great pick.
We did a week in Hollywood at 22. This was back, I want to say 1989. And we did everything live on tape. And that was outside of NBC in Burbank, which is now closed. They do everything at Universal. But that I mean, what bothered, they would let us, the cool thing about that was they kind of let us roam the hallways there. There were really no restrictions. And I'm a fan of TV, the fact they did the Tonight Show there, Ronan Martin's Laugh-In, the Bob Hope specials, all the stuff that was done there at NBC Burbank, just so much history. We had the same thing at CBS. they taped Wheel of Fortune there. Because there's a couple pictures coming up. I think the next one's with Jay Leno, I believe. Yep. I interviewed Jay Leno there. That was before he became, I don't think he had been named permanent host of the Tonight Show, but Jay's from Andover. It was the second time I interviewed him. The first time was at the Paramount Theater in Springfield. He was here performing. Yep. And nice man and funny. And of course, it's a good thing he is funny because that's how he makes his living. But just to, we talk about Massachusetts and, his start and everything else. And so that was fun. But the next picture, I think, is with me and Vanna White. I got to interview her. At the time, they were taping Wheel of Fortune at CBS, Television City. Again, another place, where they tape The Price is Right. This was in Bob Barker's dressing room. Through the years, people have said,
you're lucky he let you use his dressing room.
Yeah, I know. Well, he let Vanna use the dressing. He let Vanna, not me.
Yeah, right.
But through the years, people have said to me, you look like Pat Sajak. So I took the opportunity here, and she was so sweet. I said, people have often said that I look like Pat Sajak. And I said, who better, to give the final word on this than you? And she just kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit. And she looked at me and she went, no. But she couldn't have been nicer. So yeah, that was fun. To be able to meet her and to interview her about, and she's still going strong. And Pat Sajak is too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, it really is. That was, as a matter of fact, I was watching a PBS special on Monday night about Bill Clinton. And it reminded me of this. This was in 1998, December of 1998, a week before Christmas, when he was impeached by the House, but the Senate did not impeach him.
Yeah,
it was just a bizarre time down there. And that was the Saturday morning. I remember standing in front of the Capitol, and there were journalists there from all over the world. And at one point in time, all the Democratic members of the House walked out of the chamber and walked towards us and met with the media there. So yeah, that was, it's funny how you look at one picture like that and remember what it was.
Yeah.
Interesting time. That was, Spirit of Springfield puts on a concert every year. I don't remember the name of the band, but it's one of the military bands. And that was the first year our Sophie was here in back home. She was born in Florida, and Chris and Nicole had moved up here, and we were taking care of her. So Sophie helped me introduce the band that day. She was not impressed at all.
No, nonplussed.
Nope. I think she's about 14 months old then. She's now almost 9. So
yeah.
That was a few years ago. That's one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Barbara.
It's our friend Barbara Bernard.
Oh, yes.
Singing to you.
Yeah. And Barbara, this is at my retirement party. There's Dan Kane and Freddie Merry, and Dan and the singers came and they entertained. And to my surprise, Barbara had planned a song for me. And
right.
I said, Barbara, you can't make me cry. And she did. I just love Barbara. She's just what a wonderful woman. And just what with that to me was the icing on the top of the cake that night.
Great lady. Yeah.
Great lady. Yeah. There's Greg.
Son Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. Both my sons, Chris and Greg, spoke that night, and they were both very funny. I think there was a lot of pent up. There's a lot of stuff they wanted to get out after putting up with me in television for all of their lives. I think Chris was a year when I got started, and Greg wasn't even born.
Right.
But we're lucky. We've got two great sons, and they was great families, and very lucky. That was a fun night, and I was happy you and Lee could be there too.
Yeah.
That's my grandson Jacoy. He's a piece of work. Sitting behind him is our daughter-in-law Nicole, who we lost last December, sadly.
Right.
But,
yeah.
And that was my speech, my final words. I said that day my career came full circle when Cy Becker came over to interview me.
Yes.
I must give my friends at 22 credit that I wasn't sure they would even say anything, but they're very classy and they did a story. Well, I spent 12 years with them, a big part of my life. And,
Sure.
I wouldn't have had the career I had without what happened at 22 by any means. And,
Right.
right. A lot of good
What's,
memories.
What's his name? Bill, still there when you were working?
Putnam?
Putnam, yeah.
Yeah. He was the one that signed off on hiring me.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill and Kitty. Yeah. I mean, you talk about pioneers in broadcasting. I would say that, the history of broadcasting in this area, Bill Putnam single-handedly saved UHF television. I mean, if you go back long enough, remember it. And I vaguely remember those days where on your television set, you had a box on top for UHF. Remember those? And they weren't integrated into the sets. And Putnam went before Congress because 22 was, I think, the first UHF station on the air in the country. I think 40 was second or third. And he went before Congress and said, we're not going to survive unless you integrate UHF in these television sets with VHF. And they did. And there's a lot of people in the business, the industry, who credit him with saving UHF. And, look what it is today. But yeah, it was to be able to work for Bill and Kitty there, local owners, and I worked for Charlie and Peter DeRose at WHMP. And it was so much different then. I mean, it was more local radio, all local radio and local television. Ratings weren't a factor. It was just, let's do good television, good radio.
Right.
That was and the commitment to the community.
Yeah. Yep. I remember there was an occasional
there's my
broadcast, on location broadcasts that you guys would do too. Those were great.
Oh, we did. We went all around with those, and those were huge. There's one of my favorites, Shannon Heggy. Shannon is doing so well. Shannon's a mom now, 2 little boys, 2 beautiful boys. She came up for the party with her dad, and there's my Sophie. I was so thrilled she could be there. We had some fun times here. Shannon we could look at each other and laugh at the drop of a hair, the drop of a pin. But we could finish each other's sentences too. I mean, that's how good. I remember Shannon and I working together we did 5 live hours the night of the June 1st, 2011 tornado, and there were no scripts. It was just the two of us going back and forth off of each other. And Shannon and I we kind of feel the same way about television. Like, we take what we do seriously, but we never took ourselves seriously. Yeah. And we work so well together. But I also knew that somewhere along the way, Shannon was going to go to bigger and better things. She's that good.
Yeah.
But she's doing well.
Where is she now? Do you know?
She's in Providence. Yeah. Working for Channel 12. She's the evening anchor there. Yeah. So she's doing very, very well.
Great.
Love her. I've had the opportunity to work with some great people through the years. Shannon at the top of that list.
Who else did you work with for a lot of years? Beth Ward, right?
Ward, Beth too. Beth is another one. We can finish each other's sentences. We call ourselves. She's my TV wife.
Yeah.
She emceed the party that night with Ray, and there's Congressman Neal who came to speak too. I was honored by that. Our careers. He did very well for himself. Going to Congress, but he was just getting started in politics when I was just getting started in television. And he and I have always had a good relationship.
Yeah. Richie, good guy.
Yeah.
But this city council started there, I think, right? Then mayor and
then mayor. Yeah.
Rep, and now
he's been in Congress for 32 years.
Yeah.
Chairman of House Ways and Means. So yeah, he's he represents the area well for sure. But and you've given me the opportunity through the years to fulfill my acting dreams.
Well, we'll talk about that. But first, let's see, we've got a comment here from Jane DeSanto, who used to live out here in Westfield in the condos that I'm in. But she's still here in Westfield. But anyway, she says, Admiral and Swabby show, exclamation mark. Having grown up in Western Massachusetts, all those names mentioned are familiar. Fun. Thanks for doing this. Great stories. Thanks,
I mean,
Jane, for tuning in.
those are shows that we all grew up on, and it's Admiral and Swaby, Bozo, Wiki Wacky Cloud Club. That's the show Phil Shepherdson was on, and that he emceed. And Phil went on to, of course, do a Schools Match Wits,
Schools Match Wits,
which Beth does now. On Channel 57. Channel 57 saved that show, thank goodness, because it's I think it's the longest running show of its kind in the country. It's just it's amazing. And so yeah, she so she does that now. And but yeah, there's just so many things. And I think at this time, with all this COVID-19 stuff, it's kind of fun to think back on those days when things did seem a lot simpler. Granted, we were a lot younger too, so I would say yes, things were a lot simpler, and so was I.
Yeah. Oh man. So you've got 1 year of retirement pretty much under your belt.
I do.
What what sort of what have you been doing with yourself?
Well, it's one of those things when you worry about the fact that you're going to have too much time on your hands, and I don't. I mean, days go by fast. I'm doing a lot more golfing. I joined a couple of leagues at Southampton Country Club, where I worked when I was in high school. So, and really to reconnect and spend some more time with some old friends from town, that my job kept me away from, working nights. So to be able to do that, do some stuff around the house. We had a place in Florida. One of our plans was to move down there and, probably spend half time down there. And that kind of changed for us. And, so we've been doing stuff around the house. And as I showed you, I've been trying to do mechanical stuff. And here's a lesson why I shouldn't do that. I told you in my days, I now cannot fulfill my dream of being a hand model.
Yeah, those days are over.
That's done, unless I can do everything right-handed, and that one's not so hot either. So, or be a sign language interpreter. That's gone. It's not happening. But so I've been busy, and and doing the podcast, which I love doing. You've been my guest twice on there now.
Yeah. So let's talk about the podcast, and so folks can find that for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talked about, that I wanted to keep an affiliation with it, to the station. And, because there were some other options I looked at, but then I realized that I need to be where I know my stuff. I mean, I tried leaving television once and to go to work for Friendly Ice Cream, and they were just wonderful people over there, but I was like a fish out of water. And that's when I left 22. And thank goodness 40 had an opportunity and got me back into television. But so doing that, and we talked about a podcast because Western Mass News and Meredith wanted to have that kind of an element. So we started that in the fall, and it hit air in February. It's just me talking to people who are my friends. That I asked you, I think you did the third one. I think we did our weather team, Mayor Sarno, and the next one I wanted was you. And we sat down at the Majestic one afternoon and just talked.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. It's like this. It's just a conversation between two friends that people can listen in on. And I've learned something through every one. We've done, I want to say 20. I think I've recorded 26. We've aired 24. During the COVID time, I kind of focused on that. We changed and did things, week to week with that.
Look, there it is up on.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So, kind of focused on that. And what I tried to do during the heart of the COVID-19 was, try to focus on positive things that were happening around here, how, different industries around here kind of shifted gears and started making making masks and PPEs for companies. That's one of the things that not surprised me, but impressed me the most, how everybody, including you at the Majestic, kind of shifted gears and said, okay, this is what we need to do now. And I know it hasn't been easy by any means for anybody, but it's, especially especially anybody in business. So to be able to do that, and it runs new episodes drop every Monday on YouTube, on iTunes, and on Google Music. So it's just a fun thing to do.
Is there a specific time, Dave, that they happen?
Well, they drop at 7 every Monday morning. That's usually the time, and then they're on there forever.
There, right?
Yeah, they're there forever. It's like, so for those who don't like me, you're never going to get rid of me. And that's my evil laugh.
It's like this episode tonight. You're getting archived, and then it's there forever.
It's out there forever, and it's that's the other thing that, through the years, they used to have endowment money. I did a lot of stuff through Channel 57, and just a lot of history pieces for Springfield. And one of the kicks I get out of those is you go to the Springfield Museum, the Springfield Museum of History there, and I can hear this track I did about railroads in Springfield that it's just something that'll always be there. It's just kind of nice.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about the many Master of Ceremonies gigs you've done at the Majestic, but there was this one other appearance at the Majestic that we should talk about.
It was early, and it's the only play I could ever do because I don't have to memorize lines. That's right. We did Love Letters.
A.R. Gurney's Love Letters. I don't know how many people are familiar with that show, but it's a 2-character piece with these a man and a woman who had a relationship with one another, and they're now in their later years, but they've been exchanging letters, and so it's like really the two of them just reading these letters that they get from one another, and it's very, very, very simple, but
it's a lovely play, and it's one of those things, and, for aging people like me, it really fits. I found the script.
There you go.
I still have the script. It's got my notes in it.
Well, we could revive it, Dave. We could actually maybe even do a Zoom production.
Hey, I'm up for it. Why not? Thing is, at this age now, I kind of fit into the role. So it's
that's right.
Yeah, I did it first, I think, with Priscilla Ress, and then as a fundraiser, and then we did it for Kathy Tobin, and I did it at the Majestic. I think it was probably your second or third summer. You didn't have the full slate that you have now. And then we did it one more time for the Panache Theater over in John McKemmy's theater that used to be over at City Stage.
Sure, yeah, in the little studio space there.
Yep. So we did that then, and it was it's always been fun. It's I always enjoyed it, and it was I don't know. Every time we go to see a production at the Majestic, I am always just so impressed and jealous of these actors who can memorize their lines. It's like without a teleprompter or a script in front of me, I am flat out screwed.
I know. It's actually, that's the beauty of that piece. I mean, those letters that are literally, that text that is literally written out for you.
It is, and thank goodness. It's like, oh no, you can have it in front of you. It's like, great, I'm in, it's but you did that, and then you've asked me to do, voice tracks through the years, and
sure,
I think Buddy was the first time.
I think so too. Yeah, you voiced Anthem for us, and oh my God, there's been a number of things. Yeah, and we got Ray involved at one point too. I think because we needed 2 different voiceovers.
Yep,
I forget what that was for specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. It's been fun through the years to be able to do that.
So, Lewis Black.
Yes. Well, thanks to you, I got the opportunity to interview him when you put on the production his play One Slight Hitch. What a memorable night, and what I remember the most was because, he, like anybody else, he has this persona on stage, and, when you say hi to him, you expect him to just blow you away. And we're about the same age too. And, he and I sat on the couch on the set and just had this great talk. And it was wonderful. And to be able to sit there, and actually we had better seats than he did. I think he was 3 rows behind us. But what I loved about that night was everybody was kind of taking their cue for him to see if he laughed. And but he loved the production. I remember that.
Yeah. He was a great guy. It's funny that his stage persona is just this just kind of loud and sometimes a little obscene, and it's an angry guy, and
part of his charm.
He's the opposite of that. He's so nicely spoken, and yeah, it's great.
He really is. I suppose if he was like he was on stage through life, he wouldn't have lived as old as he is. So. Yeah, probably. But what I remember about that night, you had a reception afterwards, just how giving he was, and wonderful.
Yeah. Taking photographs with people, and yeah.
And I love the play.
Yeah,
it was just there are plays in my mind that when I see them, it's like these are perfect Majestic plays, and I thought that was one of them. And it was funny, and I think a lot of people just don't realize he's a playwright.
Yeah. I think he's a Yale School of Drama guy.
Now the connection was what, Rand Forrester?
Yes, with Rand. Yeah. Right. And after our production of One Slight Hitch, it got picked up by another theater, and then it ended up getting published. And so, I think it's out there now, available for other productions and so on.
So Lewis Black owes you some royalty money.
Yeah, good luck trying to collect that.
Without the Majestic. But I just it's one of the joys over the last almost 25 years now is I missed it because the season was canceled, and you're not, your plan is not to start till January, was going to the Majestic, and just for wonderful live theater, and what you've done for that. And I know you're supposed to be interviewing me about you, that it's wonderful. And I think in the summer theater, I mean, we've brought Sophie down to the summer theater, and Jacoy, to being able to introduce children to live theater. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. My absolute favorite thing about the Majestic Children's Theater is like post show, when all of the cast runs out into the cafe afterward, and they're still in their costume. It's right after their bows, but all the little kids, they have their programs, and they get out there and they line up to get autographs and talk to the actors, and that's so charming to see that.
It is. What a great moment for the actors too. It's like they're stars.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. And it's, I just think it's so great, because I remember when our kids were small, taking them to the Mount Holyoke College summer theater.
The tent.
Up to the tent up there. Because there's nothing. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. I just, for folks who haven't been to the Majestic, there's just nothing like live theater.
You're right. I mean, that's what makes us unique. I mean, it's not television. It's not the film world, it's live. It's happening right in front of you.
I remember we did, at least a couple of times, we brought the news to the Majestic and did the news live there. Mm-hmm. What was the Jeff Daniels play? Escanaba in
the Moonlight.
In the Moonlight. With the setting of the stage up there. I remember doing it from the theater there. Just fun stuff. I mean, I love those plays where you can just sit there, you're laughing so hard you're crying.
Yeah, that was
a great play.
That show, especially. Yeah. Well, my friend, this has been great, Dave. I think we're out of time, but
yeah, we could go. We could go another 2 hours.
We probably could. Just
catching up. I mean, it's just in this time, it's like this is how we've been seeing each other and communicating with each other. It's it's hopefully it's not the new normal that eventually we're going to be able to get back and be to where we were.
We have to have that lunch again, right? So
we do.
Yeah, we're about 3 years overdue, I think, now.
Well, we're gonna have to do that. The Crest Room's open, right?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd never been to the Crest Room. You introduced me to that. We need to go back.
All right.
All right. Let's do that soon.
That's a plan. So, Carly, how you doing? Are you back there?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out and enjoying myself. Dave, it's awesome to see you. Thank you for being here today.
You see, well, the good part of this is you're still awake, so we must have been doing something right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Until
Thank you,
next
Carly.
week. Bye, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Hey,
We will.
folks, don't forget next week, hopefully all 4 of them, the Marvelous Wonderettes, they'll be our guests. And Majestic Children's Theater Show, once again, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. And what else? Wear a mask, please. Wear your mask. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Good night.